Well, guys, it is not good when Redfin's 2024 forecast includes a big old blurb about prices dropping quite considerably in Southwest Florida, specifically Northport and Cape Coral. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that's going to include everywhere in between, which is my area of Charlotte County. As you guys know, if you've watched the channel, I've been keeping eyes on this. We are seeing enormous inventory growth here. I'm not going to go into it again. We are seeing price declines as well. But to see a major publication, a major player come out and specifically call out Northport and Cape Coral, their predictions for 2024 are matching exactly what I'm seeing and we're seeing here on the ground. I'm sure as you guys watch other, people in Florida, you're seeing similar things around the state. So I think the perception here is really starting to turn. Redfin says this is going to be due to boomerang immigration. Basically, people have come in and they are rapidly leaving for all the reasons we've mentioned that people say are not happening. But I know people like sunshine. Even though it's a brisk 61 today, I got a jacket on. I can't handle anything under 65. I'm like, a little chilly for me. I know people watching this up in the snow are like, I'll kill this guy. But, sometimes the sunshine and the heat, it's great, but the cost is becoming insurmountable for many. As I mentioned, they expect prices to fall specifically in Northport and Cape Coral, but again, it's going to spread everywhere else. This is also, while they're forecasting only a 1% price downturn for the entire country. I don't know. I think that's a little conservative with the affordability issues we have, but we'll see what rates do, I guess. So this is basically stating that this is due to how crazy it got in these specific areas. My area, Charlotte County, Northport, Cape Coral, during the pandemic, they have bid up prices so insanely high, and they really did. I mean, even the asking prices still now are crazy. That's why we're getting clipped for $100,000, $150,000 price drops, and people still feel they're overpriced because they're not even basing them on stuff that sold in 21 and 22. They're going 10, 20% over that, assuming we're still seeing that kind of growth when it's going in the opposite direction. It's just, I don't know how long it's going to take till people catch on to that around here. Seems like, as I mentioned in my previous video, most heads are in the sand about all the obstacles that this area of Florida specifically has. But, it is what it is. Redfin does feel that listings will rise overall and prices will fall next year, which is still going to keep housing costs high and keep young families out of purchasing homes, forcing them to continue to rent, to look for larger rentals. Contradictory to kind of what we've been studying here on the channel. I don't believe it's going to force families into renting. It's really, like I said, they're doing anything they can to avoid that. They also go on to state that they believe it's going to force the president to make housing affordability a major pillar of his re-election campaign, which, my God, that's where we're getting now, and housing affordability around here, as you guys can see again in the background, everywhere I walk, we are building one of these. Probably more than one. I've passed quite a few, but new house in the background there. I think that's going to handle most of the issues down here. Once these are all completed, they are still pulling a ton of permits. I think last month, Charlotte County, I think it was 333 single-family home permits. Don't quote me on that, but I did see that number somewhere. I can't remember if it was November or October. But in any event, really hoping that that's not where we go on the next election cycle, is because it's not going to be what it needs to be. It's not going to be increased wages or correct housing prices. It's going to be handouts, vouchers for rent and vouchers for housing, and that's going to do nothing, as you guys saw in California's Dream for All Home program. That stuff gets eaten up pretty quick by most people's friends who are in the know. Does nothing but push costs up higher, and there's been studies done on rent control and things like that. Not going to go into all that, but they do believe renting is going to lose its stigma, which I thought is interesting. I do not feel that way, as many of you know, and if you've seen my previous video, it doesn't look like renting is currently losing its stigma, as landlords are doing anything they can to fill their units and keep tenants. Got another new construction going up the block. Kind of give you a four-corner shot here. Down in old section 15. The houses come in all shapes and sizes. So Redfin feels like there's going to be more renters, and Bank of America just put out a survey that says basically completely the opposite. They did a survey of buyers, which I'll link in the description below if you guys want to check it out. And it states that nearly 1/3 of buyers that are waiting on the sidelines are coming off this year. They can't do it anymore. They can't take it. They're not going to stick around and wait for home prices or rates to drop. They got to act now. So kind of running contradictory to what Redfin's saying there. But at the same time, 1/3 of homeowners coming or potential home buyers coming off the sidelines is another way of saying 2/3 of them are staying there. So, they've got to live somewhere. Does that drive rental demand up? I don't know. They've built so much. There's so much oversupply, especially in our area, but really all across the country now. I don't know. I just don't see it happening. So 62% of them are still willing to wait for prices to fall and things to improve in that realm. And in a lot of areas, I don't blame them. Renting is predominantly cheaper than any buying opportunity across the country right now with where rates are. They are coming down pretty quickly. It's interesting. I mentioned in one of my previous videos, as the rates subside, we have seen more sales go up, more closed sales. But still, my 7-day trailing is not, there's not enough closings to cover the listings that are coming on each 7 days. We're doing like 168, 170 listings every 7 days. And the closings got up into the 150s, which is pretty high for Charlotte County. I look from basically Northport to Punta Gorda in my search every morning. So that's pretty high, but it's still not enough to take. It's not more than's coming on. And our pendings have really only been in the low hundreds. So that's our future closings. And I don't think it's going to pull the inventory off with the velocity that we need, as I've mentioned before. And as I'm sure you know, this is also as the National Association of Realtors is reporting that we're seeing the lowest amount of pending home sales in the past 20 years. So kind of par for the course. The only place where pending sales are rising currently is the Northeast, and they just don't have the ability to build homes the way other areas of the country do. But, a lot more economic activity up there, a lot more job activity up there. So the survey coming out, Bank of America survey makes a little bit of sense to me. It is from October, so it's a little dated. There was 85% of respondents were saying they were waiting on the sidelines previously. As I mentioned, dropped down to 62%, but that was from October. That was also before, we saw 8% interest rates there for a while. So now that interest rates have subsided, I do suspect that a lot of people that were waiting and saw, oh my God, 8%, look at what can happen. I think there's going to be some people jumping off that we're going to wait longer because they don't want to see that 8% interest rate again. That makes sense. And I don't blame them. It's so crazy right now. Every other month, interest rate's 8%, interest rate's 7%, maybe 6.8. I don't know. We'll see. But then maybe it's going to be 9 in 2 months. It's just, what a nasty game to have to play, just to find a place to live. It's nuts. Looks like we got two more of these bad boys going up. Back to back. Everywhere, guys. Building these things everywhere. I can't do a video without 6 to 7 new constructions, and I am not picking areas based on that. Another stat I found interesting in Bank of America's survey was they asked homeowners how many of them would move even if it meant a higher monthly cost. And surprisingly, interest rates being higher, surprisingly 54% of them said that they would move to a more expensive living situation based on a variety of factors. If affordability of the area was better, if they could get a better job, if they were closer to family. That's kind of how I felt through this whole narrative of the golden handcuffs. It's people are going to do what they want. They're not going to care that a 3% rate is on their mortgage when they hate the area they live in, or they want to be closer to family, or they're forced to move for economic or job reasons. It's certainly going to keep a couple of people comfortable. I just don't think it's going to be the vast majority that everyone thinks that there is. People don't make rational, mathematical, economical decisions most of the time. And I think even if it doesn't make sense, like these people are stating, 54% of them, even if it doesn't make sense financially for them to move, they're going to do it for other reasons. So, that's something to consider going forward as well. Another interesting stat, when they asked people to rank where they felt home ownership was on their life goals, it was actually down in 5th. Most people felt like they wanted to be physically healthy and be able to be financially stable, and home ownership did not top that list. However, when they asked, do you see home ownership as a significant achievement and a driver of wealth creation that can help them build equity over time, 91% of respondents said that they perceive their home as more than a liability, as more of a financial investment. So that also makes me think that not as many people are going to look to rent. I don't see this big rent rebound coming back which is good if you want to rent. I mean, you guys are seeing prices and everything move. But when the majority still views home ownership as the path to success, even though it might not be their immediate goal, like I've seen it before, I think we might see one of the highest home ownership rates the country has ever seen here. I think that's a heavy possibility. Home ownership, renting, I support you either way, guys. I think there's pros and cons in both. But overwhelmingly, people do view home ownership as a place to settle down and make memories. And according to the Bank of America survey, 89% of the respondents say they think about the financial security rather than the financial risk of owning a home. So what's the financial risk in renting, guys? We all know it. Your landlord jacks the rent up. Your costs are generally not fixed on a mortgage, but more people would rather roll the dice on that and build equity traditionally, especially if you're going to be there, over time. And again, this is not me advocating one way or the other. I'm simply repeating what Bank of America has here. But it's why I don't think that the rental demand comes anywhere close to what it was. I think it might fall past pre-pandemic levels, and people are just going to downgrade their lifestyle. They're going to downgrade how big of a house they want. They're going to get a smaller house, and they're going to plan to stay in it longer with these higher rates. And homeowners who do not like where they live or the amenities or proximity to family are going to sell anyway and still buy at a higher price, especially if wages continue to catch up. So, again, I think rent keeps the stink on it. And of course, as this is going on, guys, industry sentiment remains low. I can't tell, every day, like all across the country, agents are like, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is my worst year ever. It's so slow. There are some people actively hoping for another financial crisis so they can slam rates down and get this party going again. It's nuts. It's nuts. I mean, I get it. If this is your livelihood, it's hard to, especially if you haven't budgeted properly or, considered downturns, it's hard to face the fact of maybe you haven't sold a house in 6 to 8 months and your family needs to eat and your mortgage is due. But, I mean, I don't know what coming on the internet and crying about it is going to do. Like, no offense to anybody, but that's all I see. Get out there and hit the ground or something. And that's more, again, just going to reflect on those NAR pending sales being 20-year lows. We just have way too many agents, as I'm sure you guys all know, for the amount of sales that go on here. The Charlotte County area has about 3, if we're lucky, 400 sales a month. And we have like 4,000 agents. I don't even want to factor in the ones that come from Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Naples. They all were coming over here. And that's when guys, I'd love to help you guys out. I'm not going to Miami. It's 3 hours for me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not going over there. It's not happening. But that's when, during the frenzy, and even now, when things are getting really tight, we are seeing agents drive 3 to 4 hours, like down from Jacksonville to Charlotte County to show houses. And it is crazy. So that's sort of the demeanor, not just here, but all across the country is the sentiment I'm seeing. Oh, I thought that person was about to take me out. Sorry, madam, sir. I'm sorry, ma'am. I know I sketched you up, but you have a beautiful house and I want to show it. It's very nice. You don't see those kind of fences down here very often. Everything's the plastic vinyl usually, or wood. So nice to see a little wrought iron or esque fence there. Well, that is what I got for today, guys. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.